Some people give their whole lives quietly. No applause. No recognition. Just love, sacrifice, and hope that one day, it will be worth it. Emma Chen was one of those people. For 11 long years, Emma lived in a beautiful Silicon Valley home, but she never truly belonged to it. From the outside, the house looked perfect. Glass windows. Clean lawns. A symbol of success. But inside, Emma's life was hidden away in the smallest space imaginable, a converted storage room behind the garage. No bed. No closet. Just a thin mat on the floor and a suitcase that held her entire world. Every morning before sunrise, Emma woke up quietly. She moved carefully so she wouldn't disturb anyone. She cooked breakfast. Cleaned the kitchen. Prepared lunches. Washed clothes. Organized schedules. Then she woke the children, Mia and Noah, and helped them get ready for school. She tied their shoes, packed their bags, and smiled through exhaustion. To the outside world, Emma was family. Inside the house, she was treated like help. Blake Wilson, her husband, or so she believed, was rarely home. He was a rising star in the consulting world. Always busy. Always stressed. Always important. When he spoke, people listened. When Emma spoke, he barely looked up from his phone. At first, Emma told herself this was normal. This is marriage, she thought. This is sacrifice. She remembered the early days, when Blake smiled more. When he said thank you. When he told her she was special. Back then, she believed love meant patience. Endurance. Giving more than you received. But slowly, very slowly, things changed. Blake's parents moved in, temporarily. That temporary stay turned into years. They criticized how Emma cooked, how she cleaned, how she dressed. Nothing was ever right. If the food was too salty, they complained. If it wasn't salty enough, they complained louder. She doesn't know how to take care of a home, his mother would say, not even lowering her voice. Emma would nod. Apologize. Try harder. She stopped buying new clothes for herself. She stopped meeting friends. She stopped talking about her dreams. Somewhere along the way, she stopped being Emma, and became just useful. The only warmth she felt came from the children. Mia and Noah were young when Emma entered their lives. She fed them, bathed them, helped with homework, stayed up during fevers, and wiped tears after nightmares. They called her Mom when they were little. Those moments made everything feel worth it. But children grow. And influence grows faster. As they got older, they started copying what they saw. The way Blake ignored Emma. The way their grandparents spoke to her. Slowly, their tone changed. Less affection. More distance. Sometimes even embarrassment. Emma noticed. But she said nothing. At night, after everyone slept, Emma would sit alone on the floor of her storage room. Sometimes she stared at her hands, hands that once held textbooks, notebooks, dreams. She used to be top of her class. A medical student with a future full of promise. She had paused her education, temporarily, for marriage. Temporary turned into 11 years. Some nights, she wondered what her life could have been. Other nights, she told herself it was too late. That she should be grateful for what she had. Then came the cracks. Blake started disappearing for days at a time. When Emma asked questions, he snapped. You don't understand my work. Phone calls were taken outside. Messages were hidden. Smiles appeared that Emma hadn't seen in years, but they weren't for her. Her body felt the stress first. Constant fatigue. Headaches. She ignored them. Emma always ignored herself. One afternoon, she overheard a conversation she was never meant to hear. Blake was on the phone, his voice low but excited. He mentioned a woman's name, Sarah Martinez. The way he said it felt intimate. Familiar. Emma's chest tightened. She tried to convince herself it meant nothing. She wanted to trust him. After all, she had given him everything. The truth didn't come gently. It came during a regional medical competition, a public event. Emma had decided to attend quietly, rekindling a small piece of her old dream. She sat in the audience, nervous but hopeful. Then she saw Blake. Not alone. He stood proudly beside a polished, confident woman, Sarah Martinez. When their names were announced, the words that followed crushed Emma's reality. Blake Wilson and his wife, Sarah Martinez. Wife. The room spun. 11 years. 11 years of sacrifice. And she was never the wife. The humiliation deepened when Sarah looked directly at Emma, with recognition, with a smile that wasn't kind. Whispers spread. People stared. Emma felt exposed, small, invisible in the worst way. She left before the tears could fall. That night, something inside Emma broke, but something else woke up. When she returned to the house, her phone rang. A number she hadn't seen in years. Her mother's voice came through calm, steady, powerful. Emma, she said softly. It's time you came home. That was when the truth finally surfaced. Emma Chen was not ordinary. She never had been. She was the daughter of Rebecca Thompson, CEO of Thompson Pharmaceuticals. The daughter of David Chen, a tech innovator who helped shape Silicon Valley itself. And the granddaughter of Dr. Eleanor Thompson, a pioneer whose name was written in medical history. They had watched quietly. Waited. Respected Emma's choices, even when those choices hurt her. But not anymore. Emma wasn't a burden. She wasn't invisible. She was an heiress. As she sat alone that night, the storage room felt smaller than ever. But for the first time in 11 years, Emma didn't feel trapped. She felt something else. Awakening. And as dawn approached, one truth became clear. The woman who lived in the shadows was about to step into the light. When Emma Chen returned home that night, she didn't cry the way people expect heartbreak to look. There was no screaming. No throwing things. No dramatic collapse on the floor. Instead, there was silence. A deep, heavy silence, the kind that comes when the truth finally settles in your bones. 11 years. 11 years of loyalty, sacrifice, patience, and quiet endurance. And now she knew the truth, she was never Blake Wilson's wife. Not legally. Not emotionally. She had been living a lie carefully built to benefit everyone except her. That night, Emma packed one suitcase. Not because she was weak, but because she was done. The next morning, a black car pulled up outside the Wilson house. It didn't honk. It didn't announce itself. It simply waited. Blake's mother watched from the window, confused. Blake himself stood frozen in the doorway when Emma walked past him, calm, composed, carrying only one bag. "Where do you think you're going?" he asked, annoyed more than concerned. Emma turned and looked at him. Really looked at him. For the first time in 11 years, she wasn't afraid of his silence, his anger, or his disappointment. "I'm going home," she said. That was the last conversation she ever had with him as the woman he controlled. Emma returned to a world she had once stepped away from, a world that never forgot her. Her parents welcomed her not with questions, but with open arms. There were no "we told you so's." No blame. Only relief. Rebecca Thompson hugged her daughter tightly. "You don't owe anyone your suffering," she said softly. Emma's grandfather's portrait hung in the hallway, Dr. Eleanor Thompson, a woman who had broken barriers in medicine decades before. Emma stood before it one night and whispered, "I'm ready now." And she meant it. Emma returned to medicine with the focus of someone who had lost time, but not ability. She studied relentlessly. Nights turned into mornings. Doubt tried to creep in, but she pushed it away with discipline and quiet determination. She wasn't trying to prove anything to Blake. She wasn't chasing revenge. She was reclaiming herself. Months later, Emma entered a national medical examination. The same kind of competition where she had once been humiliated. This time, she stood tall. Confident. Prepared. When the results were announced, her name stood at the top. First place. The room erupted in applause. Cameras flashed. Interviews followed. For the first time, the world saw Emma Chen not as someone's shadow, but as a force. Then came the international competition. Doctors from around the globe. The best of the best. Emma walked into that room carrying not anger, but clarity. She remembered every night she slept on the floor. Every insult she swallowed. Every dream she postponed. She didn't let it weigh her down. She let it lift her up. Emma won. Global recognition followed. Invitations. Awards. Respect. Meanwhile, Blake's world began to collapse. Without Emma, the house fell apart. Meals were late. Laundry piled up. Schedules were missed. Sarah Martinez, now officially his wife, quickly realized that the perfect life she had married into required invisible labor Emma once provided. Arguments replaced affection. At work, Blake's reputation suffered. Deals fell through. One important client pulled out after a quiet word from Emma's uncle, Marcus Thompson. Nothing dramatic. Nothing illegal. Just influence, used responsibly. Blake lost his job. His parents, once so loud with criticism, now sat in silence. Mia and Noah tried to reach out to Emma. At first, awkward messages. Then apologies. Emma listened, but she didn't rush back. Healing takes time. Boundaries matter. Then came the call. Blake had collapsed at work. A stress-induced stroke. He lay alone in a hospital room, broke, abandoned, frightened. When Emma heard, she didn't feel joy. She felt closure approaching. She went to see him, not out of love, not out of obligation, but to close a chapter. Blake looked older. Smaller. The man who once controlled her with silence now struggled to speak. "Emma," he whispered. "I'm sorry." She nodded. Not because she forgave him, but because she had already forgiven herself for staying too long. "I hope you heal," she said calmly. Then she turned and walked away. Outside the hospital, the air felt lighter. Emma inhaled deeply, as if breathing in her future. She returned home, not to a mansion or applause, but to peace. To family. To herself. Emma Chen reclaimed her name. Emma Thompson Chen stepped fully into her life. And the lesson stayed with everyone who heard her story. Sometimes, the greatest revenge isn't destruction. It's becoming so whole, you no longer need it.